All right, people, welcome back to the Brothers Geekout podcast. This is a passion series. Got a special guest on today. I got Mark Caparros, my boy from Hong Kong, Muay Thai fighter. He's got a lot going on. I believe we're going to talk about it more, but I believe you're training to be a personal trainer and whatnot. But how you doing, Mark? It's been a while, bro. It's been a long time since we connected.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, it's good to see you. Yeah, I've been talking about this for a while. It's good to finally carve out the time and do this. So
yeah,
great to catch up.
I know. You've been a busy man. I know we've been talking a lot on Instagram or whatnot, talking about doing this. I know you've been a busy man, studying, moving houses, fighting. I know you're fighting for a while, and then obviously Corona and whatnot slowed that down and everything. But how's it all going, man? How's the study? And have you finished your studies? And what was the studies about?
Yeah, it's all been good. So I just recently completed my NASM CPT. So it's just basically a certification to become a personal trainer. So most of the personal trainers in Hong Kong have them. And I've also just started a precision nutrition level 1 coaching cert for nutrition coaching. So what I wanted to do was just do like a side hustle.
Nice.
Because that's the thing to do these days, right?
Yeah.
Just to just sort of broaden my own scope and just learn a bit more about sport science and the nutrition side as well, because I've actually got a genuine interest in it. So
yeah, you've been training for ages, and you were competing for a while in Muay Thai. And Corona slowed that down and everything. Have you been? And also, like, just to quickly throw out there, everyone follow Mark on his Instagram. It's Fit for 40, right? That's your sports channel.
Yeah, MCAP Muay Thai Fit 40s.
Right, got it. Yeah, and believe it or not, because I was shocked when I found this out. You're like, sorry for throwing your age out there, because I couldn't believe it. But you're plus 40. What you like? When I met you, you were plus 40. So
yeah.
You don't have to say the age, but look, you guys won't believe it. He's plus 40. I couldn't believe it.
So yeah, I'm actually I just turned 48 this year.
And the reason why
so
I'm shocked, because you train like an animal. You started, and correct me if I'm wrong, was you competing Muay Thai before, or was Muay Thai competing something recent that you got into?
So I actually started training Muay Thai / kickboxing / boxing just before I turned 30.
Wow.
Yeah, it was actually, I remember it was just before I turned 30 because I just quit smoking. And so I started training then and had a couple of fights in Australia, and then ended up moving to Hong Kong. Had 1 or 2 fights in Hong Kong. Then I ended up leaving Hong Kong and living in China for about 5 years. And then I didn't train at all in China. I had a back injury, but I was in China purely for work.
Yeah.
And then when I came back to Hong Kong, I started boxing first, and then I realized with my back injury, it was getting better, and I started kicking again. I thought, oh, hang on, maybe I can go back into kicking, and then one thing led to another, and then and then I've just been pretty much full-time Muay Thai since probably about 2015.
Yeah, wow.
2016, yeah.
Yeah, I remember training with you, bro, in Hong Kong. You used to be a beast, man. Like I said, like, I just thought you were a young man. Like, I mean, you are a young man. I shouldn't be throwing it out there. My bad, sorry. But I just thought you were like, whatnot. And then you hit us with like, no, I'm 45. I'm like, Jesus, this guy's a beast, bro. He's an animal.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, we used to call you Creed because I don't know what your real profession is. To wear nice suits, 3-piece suits and whatnot, and then you're in the grind of Bangkok somewhere fighting in these underground Muay Thai fights. I mean, in Muay Thai fights and whatnot. We used to just catch you on the internet, be like, "This guy's back in Thailand fighting again." Those days were awesome, man. I remember, and this is why I think you're going to be a great coach as well, because I remember when I was going to compete in one of the Hong Kong MMA fights. I can't remember which one it was. Can't remember the thing name, but I remember you messaged me. You're like, "Gee, let's meet up for lunch," and you took me out for lunch, and you just sat and talked to me from a mental perspective. I don't know if you remember this, but you were just like talking to me about the training and whatnot, but more from a mental perspective. It's like, "Gee, it's cool to be scared. It's cool to be afraid and whatnot. But let's just go through this process." And the reason why I appreciate that a lot And no knock on anyone, because I enjoyed training at Epic, but I didn't have anyone looking after me, if that makes sense. Because it was a big gym and I was just this random guy wanting to do one fight. So I'm sure the coaches had other priorities, but you took it out of your way to kind of meet up with me and kind of give me that mental sort of coaching and just kind of look after me from that perspective. So that's why I think you'll be a great coach, not just from a physical perspective, but I think you've already got that. And obviously, because you probably go through that yourself when you're competing, right? How's your emotions when you're competing and flying over to bloody Thailand, ready to fight someone? Like, what's going through your head?
Pretty much the same thing, because I actually watched the podcast that you did with Jefferson, and similar comments to you. He had a lot to do with my mental preparation. So I'll go through the same thing, and what Jefferson actually taught me was that I'm not going to die. I'm not going to be seriously injured. So you've done the work. So you just got to go out there and do it. So that's what that's why I rely on now, is that, you know, from the mental side, as long as I've done the work, I've done the training, I've been consistent, then whatever happens in the ring is whatever happens in the ring. It's kind of like out of my control, because there's another guy there, there's a referee, there's 3 judges. So as long as I've done my part, then, you know, the rest is up to the universe. So.
Got it. Awesome. So you don't put that pressure on yourself about I need to win. You just prepare yourself, and that's your confidence of that. I prepared myself, and everything happens. Yeah.
I took that pressure away, because when I was training, like, I'm like everyone else, you know, like watching YouTube and watching all the highlights of all these like high level pro fighters, and they're like, and you're thinking, oh yeah, crap, I can't do that sort of stuff. But then I realized to myself, I was like, well, hang on, I've got a full-time job, I've got actually a full-time career. So I work in a bank. So Muay Thai is like my sport. It's my interest, it's my hobby, it's my passion. So I don't have that pressure of putting food on the table, you know, earning money for a living, or from fighting. So it was just a matter of literally just enjoying it and testing myself out.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, it's great that you don't have that pressure, because you could just like go out there and just express yourself, right, without any of the pressure. But you know, my first ever amateur fight, I had that mentality. It was just like, just survive and whatnot, and it was my best ever, like mentally how I felt. And then after that, I put pressure on myself to be like, oh, like win this one, and I messed up all of those. I got beaten up. So
and it's all stuff in your head, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the last one I was going to do in Hong Kong, to be honest with you, I was panicking the most. I was having, you know, panic attacks on that one. I was putting so much stress on myself, and then obviously the training and obviously all that stuff was good, but I don't know what it was on that specific occasion, but I was literally having panic attacks. Like, it's like the older I got, the more I realized the consequences. But as you said, one of the things that everyone always says, like, you're not gonna die. It's like, that's like you. It's a very rare thing that happens. Like, very rare. But you're not gonna die. You're not gonna get any bad injuries. But that mental side of things always been my nightmare. And I know we've been talking recently about David Goggins, and you saying you was using his book and his inspiration as your mental coach. Like, what did you take away from him and reading his book?
Yeah, so I've like listened to his podcasts that he's been on, like, I don't know, 50 to 100 times. And I've read his book twice. I'm constantly rewatching some of his Instagrams. And yeah, it's just that mentality where it's like, well, you can actually push yourself harder than what you think you can. And there really is no limit to what you can do, as long as you set your mind to it. I mean, it sounds a bit cliched, but it really is. It's the honest truth. So.
Yeah, 100% agree, man. And one of my things, and I was talking to you about it after, is like swimming. I don't like the water, so I've been going out and doing swimming, and like, just what is it like overcoming, being accountable for something you don't like? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm being honest. I love training, so that part of it's fine. But the swimming side, I panic in the water. I hate it. So I've been accountable to keep myself accountable to swim every day. Did you find something after reading his book or something? Is the Muay Thai competing your thing to keep yourself accountable to like get in there and do it, or do you have something else that you hold yourself to do, like something that you don't like something uncomfortable you don't like doing?
Yeah. So it was so after getting familiar with what David's teachings were, I was like, okay, I'll just going into the fight and preparing for it. It's just something that I've got to do. Like, I need to go through that um, that challenge, because on the other side of it is you do become, at least in yourself, you've become greater. So the last fight I had in July, sorry, end of June, I was going up against the Hong Kong champion, but before the fight, I just got rid of all my nerves and everything, and because I just knew to myself, like at the end of the fight, no matter what the result was, I was going to come out going, oh, damn, I did this, you know, and that was just something for me that was that I could look back on and be proud for myself. So it was those kinds of things I call it, like, you know, like David says, you know, you got to put yourself through the shit every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your routine like when you're doing the training? Because I know in general you're training every day anyway. Like I think I made a comment saying you used to walk around with a kettlebell, because I used to see every day you're on the kettlebell. But when it comes to a training camp, like what's your sort of like routine, or how hard do you push yourself? Because obviously we've learned from like all our coaches and you know, professionals and whatnot, and going crazy is not really the style these days, right? It's not the way. It's not the way. It's being smarter is better. So what have you like kind of implemented in your sort of training camps when you go through it?
So the last one was probably the best one I've had. So the first thing I did differently was I had a nutrition coach. So she helped me a lot with dialing, getting my nutrition in check, because I used to, like everyone else, you know, like I like my desserts and French fries and a lot that kind of thing, you know. So, but it just puts a lot of weight on you. So she helped me understand the psychology behind why I was eating, when I was eating, and all that kind of thing. And it was actually a very gradual decrease in weight up to the fight, which helped a lot, because I never felt like I was starving.
Yeah.
And then two, I started working with a running coach, because for two reasons. One is for Muay Thai, it's really important to run. That's how it's the best way to get your cardio up. And then two, when I do finish Muay Thai competitions, like I want to get into like ultra trail running. So I just wanted to start, understanding, working with a running coach and just getting into that running mentality. And the workouts that he was doing, that he was giving me, like he was giving me like 3 or 4 workouts a week. One would be like a threshold workout, so sub-threshold workout, then an anaerobic capacity workout, like a VO2 max workout, and then also just a normal other types of intervals during the week. And that actually raised my conditioning up a lot. So I had a really good gas tank, so that's what I did differently. And also I incorporated a lot more weight training as well, particularly for the legs. So so just all based on all the information that I know, like your conditioning and your strength, particularly as we do age, becomes a lot more important. And nutrition. So that's what I did differently for this camp.
There's a lot to take away from that. So from the nutrition side of point of view, what sort of foods would you eat? Was it a specific diet, or was it like controlled diet and you sort of fasting, or what sort of stuff was your nutritionist get you doing?
Yeah, so previously I was very much on the vegetarian side, because I thought it was just an easier way to keep my calories down. Now I'd eat meat on occasion and stuff, but then and I thought it was healthier. But then actually after working out what your goals are, what the health goals are, what actual science and the data actually says, then I sort of balanced it out. A lot of the time was just cutting out processed foods, particularly at certain times of the day. So it's like, do I really need to eat this ice cream at 11 o'clock at night? Do I, can I just have like one dessert today instead of 2, and then not eating too much. So it'd be like, you eat till you're like 80% full. And then that automatically cutting your calories down, and then just making sure you're getting like fruits and veggies and nutrient dense food, and then you're pretty much right.
Awesome. And outside of training camp and fighting, do you still kind of stick to that diet, or do you just wild out and be like, fuck it, I'm eating whatever I want?
I've been eating whatever I want, but I haven't had the big weight gain that I normally have. So I think I've been sitting around about 77 kilos at the moment. But like usually outside of a fight, I'm probably closer to like 80.
What weight
So
do you
yeah, so this one I just had in June. I fought at 71, which is probably a bit too big for me. So the next one next year I'll be aiming for about 68, 69 kilos.
Got it. Awesome. Yeah, well, that's cool, man. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, I'm talking all this diet stuff. I'm on holiday. I took a couple of days off work, so I'm drinking the sugary stuff. So don't judge me, please.
Yeah.
But I'm taking a couple of days off work, and I decided I just want to get away from the realities of life, which is just work and train and whatnot.
Yeah.
The second thing you mentioned was ultra running, and that shit is mad. And obviously Goggins talks about it a lot in his book, but I've heard it, you know, on Rogan's podcast a lot. He has a lot of ultra runners and stuff. And that is a different kind of mental challenge, right? I mean, I don't know what's the longest you've ever run. The longest I've ever done was half a marathon, and that was tough. And I don't think I could ever do a marathon because of that. It's just a continuous. It's a different kind of mental thing. So what are you thinking in regards to doing that, man? Because that's
exactly what you've mentioned. It's just the mental side. So apart from, you know, Muay Thai fighters and combat athletes, the other athletes that I have utmost respect for are ultra runners, because you're out there running, you know, up to like to an ultra run is defined as a 50 kilometers, but most of them are like 100K, 100 miles and stuff. Yeah, and when you're out there on the trail, like it's nice and stuff for the first 20 kilometers, because like you're out in nature, fresh air. But once you get out to a lot longer distances, it's just all that mental, the mental fortitude, because you're challenging yourself and you're just running, and it's just you. It's just you on this trail, and you got to keep going.
Literally just.
So
when you're on these trails, there's not people around you. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's literally just you in the nature. You might run across past one person or two or whatever, but it's all got to do with you. But yeah, sorry, carry on. I cut you off. Sorry.
Yeah, no. So I did have an experience. So I did a 27 kilometer trail back in April. So I actually signed up for a race, and because of COVID, it kept getting suspended and all that kind of thing. So I ended up just doing the trail myself. And it was a 27 kilometer course. And at halfway, actually 8 kilometers in, I could already tell like I was cramping, because I didn't hydrate properly the day before.
Yeah.
In Hong Kong, there's two peaks. There's like Lantau Peak and Sunset Peak, and this course was going over both of them. And as I was going up Sunset, going up to Lantau Peak, I could feel myself cramping. I was like, oh crap. And I hadn't even made it halfway yet. And when I was going up Sunset Peak, that's when the cramping actually really started, and I had to start, stop. And it was just a long crawl all the way back to finish the course. So that was 27 kilometers. So I could imagine people that are doing 100 are like, yeah, that's like levels above.
Build yourself up. Did you, for that specific one, did you like build up to it? Did you take any things with you, like any glucose or packets or whatever to drink on the way, or did you just think, fuck it, I'm out for this?
No, I was prepared. So I had like sweet potatoes and electrolyte drinks. But I forgot to pack the right water. I had mineralized water, and I should have had distilled water, because it happened to me before where I put the electrolyte in with the mineralized water, and it just made my stomach go all over the place. So
what's the difference between the two? Distilled, is that the sparkling one, or no?
No, distilled is like they've taken all the minerals and all the, it's just basically like just pure water. So you can get it so I don't know what the process is, but it's basically like if you like had some water and then you put plastic on it, and then all the water that evaporates to the top, all that moisture, that's basically the distilled stuff.
Oh
But
wow!
I'm not sure how they do it
I
commercially.
didn't even
Yeah.
know that was a difference, man. So wait, well,
Yeah.
water that comes down from the mountains, right? Which is supposed to be the fresh water. Is that distilled, or is that still has all the minerals?
No, that's mineralized.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's got all minerals because it comes through all the soil and all the rocks and all that sort of stuff.
Got it. Wow, that's interesting. I didn't even know. And so how did that one? So obviously you're feeling the cramps and whatnot. How did you finish that off? What was going through your head when that was kicking in?
I was like, so I'm on Sunset Peak and I'm like, can I stop? And like I couldn't because no one could take me anyway. Like if I couldn't walk, like I'd still have to go somewhere with someone to pick me up. And I wasn't going to call for a helicopter. And then the thoughts of like David Goggins kicked in, and I was like, I just got to keep going, like no matter what. I just had to finish it. So I started the run at about 10 o'clock, and I didn't finish until like 7 at night.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. That's amazing. I mean, the thoughts, like I haven't done anything up to your capacity or whatnot. But when you say the thoughts of David Goggins, when I'm swimming and I start panicking, I normally like do a couple laps, and around lap 4 I start panicking. I don't know why. And then just like what you said, I have David Goggins in my head saying, "Stop being a bitch," and I'm like, "All right, let's go." Those are the thoughts that come into my head with Goggins. But I've not gotten to the capacity of what you're trying to do now with your running, and I haven't competed since 2011. That one in Hong Kong was I was gonna do my one and done, right? Because I was supposed to compete in 2011. It was gonna be my first MMA one. I got injured, and ever since there, to be honest with you, mentally I couldn't come back from that. And I always try to give myself mental excuses and all this sort of stuff. When I tried in Hong Kong, I finally got to a position where I was a bit more mentally confident. So I was like, yeah, let's just do this. And then that one fell through. And then I was going to try again in Singapore, and then COVID happened. And to be honest with you, I haven't had that the mentalness to go back to my coach and say, let's get something back up. I'm just like, let me just enjoy this or whatnot. But I think that's really mentally making excuses to not go back in there. But I just want to do my one and done. It's the one that got away from me, and I just want to finish that one off. So that would be my like sort of David Goggins type pushing myself mentally, because I'm not a fighter. I admitted myself a long time ago that I'm not a fighter. When I was young and I was competing amateur, I was like, okay, I'm going to be a fighter. But then I realized I'm not a fucking fighter. I don't want to do this shit. I got my one and done to do. So definitely going to try and aim for that. I don't know this year or next year, but I'll speak to my coach again. What about like recovery, man? So obviously recovery is a big part. You've done that massive one after a Muay Thai fight. Or even after training when you're trying to lead up to a fight? Obviously, you don't want to get injured, and there's always tweaks anyway. But what do you do for recovery after a hard training session or week of training?
So this time, I've actually always been doing dry needling for a couple of years now. So it's like acupuncture, but basically wherever your tight muscles are, like the physiotherapist, like they'll just like stick needles in, and they'll leave it in for a few minutes. And what happens is like when your muscles like really tight, and they'll put the needle in, and then after a few minutes it will just like sort of release, and it loosens up the muscle. So that's the main one that I do. And then I also started for this camp as well. I started breathing exercises. So I was doing breath work, all that Wim Hof stuff. So I did a couple of sessions with a breathwork coach in Hong Kong, and that worked out pretty well. It actually might help you with your anxiety that you feel with swimming. Because when you're swimming, like it is actually all about breathing when you turn your head. You're doing your several strokes, and then you turn your head again and breathe. So if you actually slow your breathing down, it'll help with all that anxiety and stuff. And that's some of the things that I worked on with in terms of recovery.
How does the breathing stuff work? Is it like a 4 in, hold for 4 out? There's that sort, or is it different kind of tempos and momentums to it?
Yeah. So the one that I mainly use is it's called box breathing, and apparently it was some Navy SEAL that created or whatever. But basically what you do is that you breathe in for 4 seconds, or it's up to your own tempo. So you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold it for 4, breathe out for 4, then you don't breathe in for 4, and then you just repeat that cycle until you start calming down. So that's one method. And then the other methods, it's like the Wim Hof method. I'm sure you've heard of it, where you you hyperventilate your body, and you take it in more oxygen. And I'm not sure that I can't explain it properly, but it's like you're getting high off oxygen because your whole body starts tingling, and then you hold your breath, and you get this carbon dioxide buildup, but you're learning to handle that extra carbon dioxide in your body. And then you breathe out, and it just puts this whole calming effect throughout your whole body. It's pretty cool.
That's interesting. And when you do that, are you in like a meditated state, or you're just sitting down and doing it, or do you
you're in a meditative state? Yeah.
That's crazy. I remember one of Rogan's podcasts with what's his name, David Blaine. You know, he's known for like holding his breath for like whatever 10 minutes or whatever. He was talking about what you just mentioned, something about dealing with the carbon dioxide in your body, something like that. Yeah, he's got a different kind of method, I guess he's got to it. And he's also crazy and one of those special human beings, I guess. But no, that's crazy, because I do a lot of meditation and I do a lot of breathing as well. And I do need to overcome that thing with the swimming. I mean, what I've been able to do is like, I do panic and I'm just like, I tell myself, just relax, just keep going. Same thing used to happen to me in jiu-jitsu actually as well. When I used to go hard and then rolling with a big person, they used to get on me. One of the things I used to always think about is like, all right, instead of exploding right now, just relax your breathing, relax. Because that's when, again, with jiu-jitsu, I didn't panic as much, but it used to come. And I used to get upset at myself because I'm like, hold on, you've been rolling for ages. Why all of a sudden now you're panicking? So while I do now is like, all right, when I feel like I'm breathing hard, just relax, hold on, relax, and then get back into it, sort of thing. Just calm the breathing down. Yeah, that stuff is important. When you're in the midst of a fight, right? So you're going, obviously your mind is obviously clear and your body's just expressing itself. Is there anything going through your head? Is there any thought process? Is there any, like strategic process you're going for? Are you literally just allowing your body to express itself while you're in the middle of a fight?
It's just learning to express myself. But what I've started to learn now, which I got a lot from the last fight, is actually analyzing what's happening through the fight. So a lot of this is what the stuff that Jefferson's taught me, is that you're taking in information constantly during the fight, which is it's such a art form. So all these like high level guys that like are just absolute masters. They're amazing because they're taking in what their opponents are doing and then they're responding to it, and that's something that I've just been trying to do, is just sort of, you're in the fight but then you're like kind of like outside watching. So that's what I've been trying to do. So that it's basically, you are in there, but you're not worried about getting hurt or anything. You're just doing it.
It sounds like a psychedelic experience, like from outside watching you, even like a Doctor Strange thing. I know we're gonna geek out in a bit, but it's almost like a Doctor Strange thing. But we'll put shout outs to Coach Jefferson. If you're in Hong Kong, check him out. What was the gym called that he's at now?
He's at the gym.
The gym.
So it's in Soho, Soho Central, near the escalators. So it's a good boutique gym. They've got strength and conditioning, mainly strength and conditioning coaches there, but then like Jefferson's got his Muay Thai there. He does a lot of one-on-ones for. Yeah,
awesome. Well, if you're in Hong Kong, check him out. I mean, amazing coach. I mean, I loved training with Jefferson. Again, it was, as you mentioned, from the technical perspective, but one thing I used to love about Jefferson, and I mentioned on the podcast, he always used to, after the class, just sit down with the students and just have a conversation from technical perspective, what we went through, mental perspective. And it's very rare. Don't get me wrong, I love training Muay Thai and those are different gyms, and I'm sure you've trained at many as well, but a lot of them is you train, you just train and then that's it. After the class is done, right? And it's very rare we find a coach who's like, hey guys, take a seat, let's have a conversation and let's talk about things, which is, again, I believe everyone has a passion for what they're doing, but it's just I'm an emotional type of guy, I'm a mental type of guy. So when I see that, I'm more attracted to that coach, be like, that's the sort of coach I need. I need someone that mentally kind of bonds with us and whatnot. So shout out to Jefferson for that.
Yeah, same, bro. I'm the same. Yeah, because I remember just in your podcast, you were talking about one of the things that he does is after the class, he'll sit down with the students and talk about what they learned. And there's been so many situations where we do this regularly in between fights where I'll do my warm up, we'll do pads, and they'll be like, you know, half an hour, 20 minutes left, and we'll just literally sit down and talk about fights and tactics and the mental aspect. And you know, it's that 20 to 30 minutes is probably worth more than, you know, spending, you know, 2 or 3 hours just practicing a move, because the mentality is just in the right place.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think, like, you know, I mean, like the Thai fighters from Thailand, I mean, they've been fighting since they were kids. So to them, it's another day, another weekend. So you don't really get much from, not in a bad perspective, but to them, it's like, oh, don't be scared, just fight. It's cool. But they don't, I don't think they get, like, it's like, listen, I'm not like you, man. You've been fighting since you're a kid. I'm not. So they don't, I don't think they get that side of things. And they're like, don't worry, just go fight, be okay. Whereas, you know, you could appreciate someone from Jefferson's perspective, or even like yourself or anyone who's like, I need that mental thing, because I haven't grown up with this thing like you don't have, which is great. No, awesome, man. And then, so with the personal training that you're doing, I know it's a side hustle for now. Do you see yourself in the future just making that your full-time thing, or just see how it goes, just keep it as a side hustle? Because you obviously got a passion for health and fitness, all angles, right? You know, is that something you're looking to do full-time in the future?
Yeah, I do. So because I've had so my career in the bank, it's approaching like 25 years now. And just with everything that's happened over the last couple of years, like, you know, we had the Hong Kong protests, we've had COVID. It just made me really rethink about, you know, where I want my career to go. So eventually, I do want to move out of working for a bank and becoming a fitness and health coach. You know, potentially write a book, do podcasts like yourself. So who knows? But yeah, it's kind of, I think it's what I think what I want to do, or what the legacy that I want to leave on the earth after I go, is to leave that kind of knowledge with people. So yeah, so hopefully it does work out. So I'll see how it goes in the next few years.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got the right mind frame, obviously, man. You're challenging your mind from many different perspectives. I don't see it, you know, not going forward, right? And then if it doesn't, then I guess it'll always fall down to yourself if we're going to push it or not. So I'm sure it's gonna go through. What about like at work, like your colleagues and whatnot? Do they know that this guy comes here in a suit, does his business, and then goes out and fights people? Do they know what's going on with your life, or you keep that shit separate?
Yeah, I know. I mean, a few of them do know. So yeah, so like I've been working from home for like the last probably 4 years. But yeah, whenever I go into the office, they'll talk about, what do you do on your weekends, or all that sort of stuff. And I was like, I'm just in the gym training because I'm preparing for a fight, or I'm going to Thailand. And yeah, it's an interesting conversation point for them, because people, in the industry, finance or whatever, like any type of suit, they just don't do that. So
yeah, exactly.
It's very rare.
Exactly. That's crazy. But with the Muay Thai and whatnot, do you see yourself like giving yourself up to a specific age to be like, I'm gonna be up this age, or are you just gonna see how you go and take it, listen to your body when it gets to that point?
Probably listen to my body. So when I look back at it, so I actually did my first pro fight when I turned 45. So that was what year is it now? So that was 2018.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was literally, and I know we're going to geek out in a minute, but it was literally my mentality at the time was like, what if I had this career as a fighter? And I just, so so it's been good. Like my role, I can do wherever. So it's just kind of been good. I've been able to train and then go to Thailand and fight on occasion as well. So I'm just going to see how it goes. I'll probably, my plan is next year is probably my last go around. Because it probably would have been like this year, but like with COVID, it didn't work out. So hopefully I can get over to Thailand next year, do 2 or 3 more, and then call it, retire, I guess.
How's the process in Thailand when you're going over there to fight? Like, is like, obviously you go to a specific gym that maybe Jefferson recommended or whatnot, and then they take, because you're not with Jefferson. Has Jefferson come over with you, or has it always been with separate coaches over there? Like, does that affect your
Um,
mental? Because you're going into like not enemy territory. That's might be silly to say, but just a different territory, different environment to what you're used to. How does that play up in your head?
it doesn't anymore. So the first time I went over, I actually trained at Sangmani's gym, and that was a really good experience. So we trained, twice a day, and it was like really hard. Like it was hard every day, and that was quite challenging. Being in the middle of Bangkok, and I'd have to train and work, and train and work. But then after a while, you just get used to that process, and then you just like the subsequent times I went, I just knew, okay, well, this is what I've got to do, and you're already prepared. So just go ahead and do it. And then when the fight comes around, Jefferson usually flies over. He's there to quarter me in the fight, which is good. So he takes time out of his day. So
got it. And with the fights in Thailand, we all know, like, a lot of them guys rank up 400 fights or whatnot. And they're all legit fights, don't get me wrong, but there's a big gambling community behind it. So a lot of times they have an understanding of like, all right, listen, if like sometimes they might not necessarily go for the knockout or whatever, but it's very technical, it's very slow pace, catching the points. And they know like, all right, I've won the first 2 rounds, you're not going to win the last one. And they sometimes pick it up. Like, with your mentality coming in, was it different? Like, was you like, no, this is a fight, like, and I'm going to go for the knockout, I'm going for the kill? Or was you respecting that type? Because it's different, right?
Yeah. No. Well, Jefferson, and actually, I actually had 2 Muay Thai coaches for a while. So Ekapol as well. So he's Thai. But basically, what they taught me is like, yeah, you gotta play the game. I've actually only had 1 5-round fight, but all the other fights I've had were 3-rounders. But it was the same kind of mentality where you had to go in, look good. Don't go for the knockout. You got to look like what you know. You need to show that your skill, that you can dominate your opponent, like that. And then it was never about going in for the knockout, because getting a knockout's actually it's not as easy as what people think. So like you'll see a highlight and you're like, yeah, some guy will get a punch, or Superbon had that kick with Petrosian a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
But those knockouts are like set up like from rounds before, or maybe the beginning of the round, where you're making your opponent thinking, I'm going to kick this way or punch this way, and then you do something completely different and it catches them off guard. So
yeah, now I can imagine you've got to set it up, right? You've got to set up, and knocking out, like, I guess in Thailand, it's more maybe more of a Western mentality of like, fuck it, man, I'm going to fight.
It is, yeah.
Win aggressive and whatnot, win. So yeah, because obviously there's that adjustment. Because when you're training, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when you're training in Hong Kong and whatnot, you're probably just thinking I'm fighting, and then when you get to Thailand, you're more like, all right, I'm fighting, but I've got to express a skill set there. I've got to express the art of Muay Thai, not just going out to kill. And that must be a bit of a mental adjustment as well if that goes through.
Yeah. Well, actually, now that I had a bit more time to think, it's actually when I do go over, it's more about being sure that I'm fit enough to go through the training, because I know once I go through the training, I'll be okay for the fight. So before I leave, I make sure that I've already a very good fitness level before I go, and then that usually takes care of everything.
Got it. And with the personal training, are you thinking that you might want to train, fighters or any sort of thing? Like, do you have anything specific, any sort of specific athletes that you want to help, or just business people, or whatever, that you want to help them with their lives to get fit, or is it something specific, or is it just general?
At the moment, I'm just thinking general. So it'd be good if like everyone was moving around and had some sort of sporting or athletic competition that they did. It's just generally because I think that people don't realize how healthy and how strong they actually are. So and that's become very obvious to me during this COVID. It's like everyone needs a pill or something, and it's like, well, yeah, they might help, but if you're exercising, you're eating the right food, you're looking after yourself, your biology is more than capable of handling the things that our earth gives us. So
Yeah, no, I mean we've spoke about this, and we don't need to go and get deep in it, but yeah, I mean of course, you know, mask and social distance and vaccine, whatever. But yes, like the most important thing is eating right, your own immune system, right, taking the right vitamins, eating healthy food, and getting exercises. I mean, I think we both kind of agree from that perspective.
Yeah,
It's difficult though, right? Because for example, like I'm no personal trainer or whatever, but I learn from like yourself and coaches and you know stuff that I hear, and I try to express that to my family and friends. And these are loved ones, and they don't even want to listen to you. Like, you know what I mean? It's like
yeah.
so hard to convince people of like, you know, do some exercise, eat this or whatever. How are you like? Do you find that difficult? Like with your friends, kind of trying to express them like during this whole COVID time, like guys, make sure you're eating this or whatever, or do you just kind of let people like just do like how do you do that, because that's hard, like as a personal trainer you obviously want to convince people, but a lot of people don't have the same mentality, they don't have the same motivation or whatever it is. So
Yeah.
how is that?
Yeah, so with that aspect, it's like a lot of people. Like I've had these discussions, and irrespective of that, people will still go with their own lives because that's what they're used to. So it's more about what I found is just if I lead by example. So if I'm like exercising, eating the right food, not I don't drink alcohol anymore. So it's just doing those kinds of things so when you do talk to people, it's like, oh, they can see that you practice what you preach. It makes that conversation easier. And then you sometimes you don't even need to talk about it. They'll be like, oh, okay. And you're hoping that, people sort of, some light bulb moment goes off and they'll go ahead and change their lives. So
Yeah, hopefully to
yeah,
inspire them, sort of thing. Yeah, I mean like, honestly following your Instagram, it does inspire me. I always say this, when you compete and when you go through that journey, I take a sense of inspiration from that. Now, I mean, I love training and all that sort of stuff. I guess that it's the common mind frame that you're trying to kind of change. As you said, everyone's in their routine and whatnot. But hopefully people can find inspiration from, like, as you said, like leading as example, which is, you know, ultimately, because I always have this, I mean, like, I don't want to get too much into it, but I always have this thing like, as the government, and obviously the government's all about business power and whatnot, but you just locked down a whole nation, you stopped them from going out,
yeah,
but then you couldn't
I know.
stop them from eating McDonald's or something, you couldn't stop them from
I know.
should have shut those shops down too, and then made them exercise. Like, you should have made it mandatory to say at
Yeah,
4 o'clock everyone has to exercise or whatever. Like it's crazy, but I guess business takes over. Like it's all gonna be money. But anyway, we don't need to get
yeah,
into that. But look, man, it's been awesome talking about the fitness side. But the main thing I did want to do is geek out with you, bro, because I know
yeah,
you're a comic book geek as well. You're into all of that sort of stuff. I remember the end of season 2 of Mandalorian when you messaged me after like we both seen it, and you were like, "Holy shit!" Because I hope everyone's seen it. So spoiler alert. But when Luke shows up
yeah,
at the end of that episode, you were like, "Holy shit, bro! Holy shit, it's him!"
yeah. I know.
What was your reaction? I wish you recorded your reaction when you were watching it. What was you freaking out when you realized it was him?
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, no, is it really? I was like, no, it can't be Luke. Is it Anakin? I was like, what? And then yeah, the X-wing flies in, and there's like the green lightsaber, and like he cuts down the drones, and then his face comes up, and you're just like,
It was, that was one.
it was just one of those moments. Yeah,
It's crazy how it can, like, you know me. I mean, I think you see my Instagram. I'm always geeking out and whatnot. But it's crazy how
yeah,
those sort of things, these fake realities, just gives you so much joy and whatnot. Talking about them and watching them, especially with Star Wars, to bring it back, because those last 3 movies, you know, they were just watchable, and I guess they were just what it is. But then these shows, like for me now, I mean, I'm being harsh on it, but I prefer the Mandalorian show. That's my favorite Star Wars content out there.
oh yeah, yeah.
It's crazy how
Yeah.
they put that back.
Yeah, to me, they're just the TV series is now they're just like long movies that they've just chopped up,
Yeah,
just so people aren't stuck in the cinema for like 6 hours.
exactly. So
Yeah.
what's your favorite thing to geek out? Is it all of it? Is it Star Wars specific, like DC, Marvel? What did you grow up with? What was your thing that you grew up
Um, so mine was always about superheroes. So growing up was about Superman, and so I'm going back to like Christopher Reeve and stuff. So those
with?
kinds of my they're like my yeah, that's what I watched when I was a kid. And then we had the first Spider-Man, the Avengers back in those days, bro. It was like the Incredible Hulk was like Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah.
So so nothing like today, but yeah, it was just always my and a lot of Filipinos. So I'm ethnically Filipino. But those kinds of movies are very. I can always geek out with other Filipinos about these things. But yeah, I used to love the superhero genre growing up. You know, me and my brother, my younger brother, he's in Australia. He's got this massive Transformers collection, and he's got a bit of Star Wars as well. We still like play with Lego and make our, and this is going back in the 80s, right? 70s and 80s. So like we'd make our own spaceships out of Lego, not like today where it's like you got X-wings and everything already made up. Yeah, we'd have to make up our own.
So what was those were they the first sort of things that you grew up with? That was your first comic book sort of experience where you were like, oh shit, I'm loving this, like old Superman and stuff? Or was there something, did you have a specific superhero that you, not idolize, that's the wrong word, but you loved, you know what I mean? You're like, this is my guy. Like, was there one specific?
No, it was actually more like all of them. Like, I mean, if anyone, it was like Superman, because it was, he was like this all-powerful, he could fly, Man of Steel, and all that kind of thing. And then at one stage, he actually, I think it was Superman 2, he turned back time. And I was like, that was pretty crazy. But yeah, but these days now, like with Marvel, especially like when it started with Iron Man, that really got my geekiness back out again when they started. So with the current Marvel, the current MCU, like my two favorites right now is the Black Panther and Shang-Chi, like more recently. Yeah. So Black Panther was more like, it's basically because he represented the colored people, like of it. I gotta be honest, right? It's like, this is cool. You got this dude out of Africa, and I think it was just really cool that someone like like him was had all this, was doing all this good in the world, and you got Wakanda, all the technology, so that was pretty cool.
Definitely, yeah. No, I agree. I agree. I think that movie gives a lot of hope to again, colored people and whatnot. Because I always said this, it wasn't just towards Black people. I have a connection with him too, because he represents me too. But it is an amazing story, because again, like the richest superhero or person on the planet is an African continent. It would have been a shame, because I heard that they were trying to get him to do a British accent, like everyone to do a British accent, and they said no, because that would have shown that Wakanda was colonized by Brits. So it's great that they kept that, something as simple as the accent, to show that these are true Africans in this comic book world and whatnot. With Shang-Chi, was it again, because this was a great Marvel kung fu movie, you know what I mean? They done it right. The martial arts was done like a Jackie Chan martial art movie. Was it what attracted you to that movie? Was it the martial arts, or was it just a cultural thing?
Yeah, it was the cultural and the martial arts as well. So the friends that I lived with back in Australia, in Sydney, they used to go to China, and they used to bring all these martial arts DVDs back, and that Shang-Chi was like a throwback to those DVDs. But then also, I watched Bruce Lee on VHS videotapes growing up. So yes, I'm like wearing my Bruce Lee now. Yeah, so Bruce Lee's actually the inspiration to get into the martial arts, as he was at the time. So so Shang-Chi's just like a complete throwback to that time as well. So that's what I loved about it. And the movie was like done really well. The choreography was awesome. The color, I don't know, it was just everything about it. I actually watched it twice. It was like 2 weeks in a row. I would have watched it a third time, but like my wife was like, no, I've had enough.
I've had enough of this shit. Is she, I know she joins you all the time, is she genuinely into it, or is she just like, all right, because you're going, I'll come with you, or has she got herself into it? Or have you?
She has. I've gotten her into it. So she's a big Iron Man fan, like Robert Downey Jr. and Black Panther. So she's like, since those movies, all the other Marvel movies aren't the same. But like she's pretty cute. Like she mixes up DC Justice League with Marvel. So we watched Justice League, and she's like, "Oh, what happened to Iron Man? Where's he?" I said, "Honey, this is not this is a different universe. So
you gotta sit her down, do the whole education. I did that with my girl because she didn't watch the Marvel movies and whatnot. I was like, look, we gotta go week by week and go through all of them. So we went through all of them up to Endgame. It took like a couple months. Now she's deep into it, so like I'm not allowed to watch it without her. But I told her like on the first day they come out, you better be free because I'm going without you. With or without you, I'm going with you. But she's deep into it as well now. And same, we're just going through the DC universe as well. So she used to get confused, but now I think she's understanding they're two different universes and products and whatnot. You mentioned Bruce Lee. I want to quickly go back to that because you say he was your inspiration to get into martial arts, right? And obviously, I'm looking at whole Bruce Lee memorial shit that I got here. He was your inspiration. What was it from Bruce Lee that you took away and you got? And as you got older, what more did you learn from Bruce's philosophies and martial arts and stuff?
So the thing was, so when you watched it when you're younger, it's like, oh my god, there's this guy who's got these amazing fighting skills. And at that time, everyone was like Bruce Lee, ninja, all that sort of stuff. It was just good because it was like this little guy who could like fight off like 7, 10, 15 attackers. So, and it was just like really cool stuff. And again, it was just all the Asian stuff as well. So, it was someone just that you could identify with. But then as we get older, I used to just read snippets of what his teachings were, and they were just so they were inspirational at the time, but they're just like genuine life lessons. Like I used to remember, I used to post a lot of stuff every morning. Like I used to read your stuff. I used to look forward to it. Like you'd be posting this quote, and you'd have Bruce Lee quotes as well. And I'd be like, it's totally, he had a lot of life lessons that people they're still relevant today.
He's definitely ahead of his time, right? I got this quote that I got in my wall, which is one of my favorites. It says, "Don't pray for an easy life, pray for the strength to endure a difficult one." And I love it. And I think that's like from the David Goggins and they all talk about that. Like you've got to enjoy yourself to live a difficult sort of life. I mean, he's definitely a great inspiration and whatnot. As you're older now, like he was obviously ahead of his time when it comes to the martial art physical perspective.
Definitely.
Like, the whole MMA game was really like Bruce Lee's philosophy, right? If you think about it, he was always mixing it up and whatnot. I know you're not big into, or correct me if I'm wrong, you don't really watch MMA much. You're more of a Muay Thai, watch Muay Thai fights. Do you watch MMA a little bit? Have you ever trained like jiu-jitsu or wrestling and any of that sort of stuff?
No, I didn't. So when the gym that I trained at in Sydney, where I started, when I started training, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu just started in that gym. So it's called Gym Wukun back in Sydney, and then they some of the guys from Muay Thai started training BJJ, but I was trying to get good at Muay Thai, so I didn't try the BJJ.
Got it.
But the thing is with BJJ, the thing that I pick up is that people don't realize that it's just as stressful on the body as it is like a stand-up striking sport.
Yeah, 100%.
It's just that people don't like getting hit, but like in BJJ, like you're getting stretched, you're getting squeezed. You don't realize that that's still punishment to your body.
100%.
So it's just interesting how people's perceptions are different. But to me, BJJ is just as a demanding sport as like Muay Thai.
Agree.
Yeah,
You just reminded me of something about which I always enjoy training with you as well. One thing, and you probably know this, training in different gyms with different people and martial art gyms, there are a lot of egos in certain gyms and whatnot.
Yeah.
Trying to prove themselves, whether they're a fighter or not. But fighters have a different mentality, so they have nothing to prove. They're the best people to train with. Training with you was always comfortable because even though you were bigger than me, you were more skillful than me, you always controlled yourself. Like you applied your technique on me, but you never went crazy. Like you know what I mean? Like I go through so much training now where people just have egos and they just want to beat me up just for the sake of I might have scored a point, for example, and they didn't like it. You always had this. You had a control in you, and that's again. I don't know nothing about being a fighter, but every time I've trained with a fighter, someone who competes a lot, they have this level of control. Like how did you build this in your head? Like, did you come from a place where you were egotistic and then it it developed into this more of a control person, or was this always you, just always like, you know, keep your ego outside the gym?
Yeah, so when I first started, it was just all about hard sparring, because that was the culture of the gym. And then when I started Muay Thai back in Hong Kong, that's when I started learning about you know, keeping your control and just going over and practicing the technique. And it was also because, like, if you're training with people, what I learned was, like, if people don't like training with you, they're not going to keep coming back, and then you're not going to have anyone to train with.
Yeah.
So that's also there as well. And when you are training to fight, you've got to practice certain techniques and moves and timing. So there's no point going all out, because otherwise you won't really learn them if you're going 100% all the time, and people won't like you.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's just like training buddies are like these friends that, like, just get the best out of you, and there's no questions asked. Like, you go in and train, and there's this understanding there. So if you, like, want to compete and fight, if you haven't got those people with you, it's very hard to improve. So yeah, it's just, I think in a training environment, you got to be pretty likable.
Yeah,
People need to like training with you.
Yeah. Because in Thailand, obviously, you know, the way they train, right? They play a lot, right? And then when it comes to the fight, they fight every week, so they probably just keep the hard stuff to the fight. And when they just train, just play a lot. But I agree with what you're saying, man. I in regards to, like, having that training partner and being able to apply your technique within sparring. Because yes, hard sparring, you got to do that when you're fighting, I'm assuming, right? But when you're not fighting, just sparring and being playful and being able to practice techniques, like, it's great to do it in that environment. But if someone's going hard, then you're like, oh, fuck the technique I'm trying to learn, I'm just gonna try and fight. You're hitting me, so I'm gonna try and hit you back, and the point of sparring, it goes out the window, right? Because now you're just competing, fighting, and trying to get points.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Actually, you just reminded me. I listened to a guy named John Danaher, the Bjj Professor.
Yeah.
And that guy is like, he's like such a guru, bro. He's the essence of martial arts. Like some of the stuff he was saying, well, actually a lot of the stuff he was saying was similar to what Jefferson had taught me, and then similar to what, like, Bruce Lee comes up with. Just his whole approach to everything. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah, he's a different type of dude, because he was on the Rogan's podcast, and the way he talks is very, like, I think he was a philosophy teacher or something like that, and then he just
something like, he's got a PhD or something.
Yeah, and all he does is just train martial arts and just focus all his energy into BJJ, and he brings that philosophy mentality to it, which is amazing. Yeah, no, cool, man. Well, and I know we went off topic again. Let's go back to Geek. What did you think of the Eternals? Because that just came out, and I gave my non-spoiler review, and then me and my brother spoke about it on the podcast and whatnot. What was your thoughts on it? I saw your Instagram, and I know you said you had a busy day, but you were sleeping. Your wife took a picture of you sleeping. So I was like, did this guy find it?
Well, that was actually on the ferry ride home, but it was actually a long movie. So my wife was having troubles keeping up with it. She was like falling asleep. She had lollies in the bag that she was just like eating to stay awake. I thought it was, because it was a Marvel movie, I was like focused on it because I wanted to make sure I got something out of it. But as a standalone, it was probably okay as a movie. But then if it was like living up to the expectations, it probably fell a bit short. I think it just lacked a bit of punch. I thought, but then again, the color, the way it was shot, I thought that was all good. I thought it was just like lacking a bit of punch. But then it's sort of setting up all the stories, like, for the sequel and stuff that goes on after that. So it's kind of good with the story twist that they had. So I'm actually looking forward to the sequels.
Yeah. You know what? I need to watch it again. I came out there thinking the same thing as you. Like, the expectation of all the Marvel movies, it didn't live up to it, I think. But I need to watch it again, because I spoke to my brother and he was giving me a different perspective of, like, what you just said, like what is setting up, the celestial beings and the cosmic energy and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, holy shit, for real, actually, what is setting up is actually got me more excited than the actual movie itself. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't one of my favorites. But my favorite scene was at the end. And again, spoiler alerts. If you guys haven't seen it, please, go watch the movie. But was that end scene, when the very end where the celestial being was, you could see him in the sky. And the thing is, all I thought about was Galactus, because we're going to get Galactus in the future.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's how you're going to do Galactus, because he's going to look as big as that. So that got me super excited. And I just learned, remember the end credit scene where the Black Knight, where he's getting the sword, and then someone in the background says, "Are you ready for that?" Or something. That is apparently Blade. That was Mahershala Ali.
Yeah.
That got me geeked out when I read that. I didn't know at the time, but now I'm like, holy shit, they've set that up amazing.
Yeah. I actually missed out. We missed out on that that ending scene. Yeah, I've seen it on YouTube. So I'm gonna watch it again.
Okay.
So I saw the ending scene on YouTube, and we were like, because we had to get out because it was like 2.5 hours, and I was like busting to go to the toilet because the cinema was cold. So actually, now that you mentioned it, since you're gonna go see it again, I think I'm gonna go see it again, and I'll probably have to go by myself.
Yeah. I think I need to do it again, because everyone else is loving it, and I'm like, why am I not feeling it as much? But maybe, I don't know, maybe again, it's the comparison. I shouldn't be comparing it to other Marvel movies. I should just accept what it is. But I definitely watch it again. But yeah, bro, come on, man, you know better. You never leave a Marvel movie until the end credits done. So
yeah, I know. I was just schoolboy era, like I'm just busting to go to the toilet.
Yeah. What are you looking forward to next? Like, be it the Marvel or the DC universe. I know we got Spider-Man coming up in December, Doctor Strange, and that's all bringing in the multiverse. What are you looking forward to most coming up?
Doctor Strange, actually. And to slightly lesser degree, how that ties in with Spider-Man. Because after the Loki series, like that episode 6, where it's like, it's basically the MCU now is like a live action comic book where they can do whatever they want. It's amazing, right? It's like the imagination that they could put in, like they're not stuck to this like one storyline anymore. They can like do these offshoots, and the X-Men, like I really want to see what happens with the X-Men when that comes in. It'll be really interesting to see how that comes out.
Did you
watch whether or not it's like
Venom? Did you watch Venom? Let There Be Carnage.
I haven't yet. No, I haven't yet.
Do you know the spoiler? I'm not gonna say anything if you haven't. Do you know anything about the spoilers of that?
No.
Okay, no, I won't say nothing. Go watch it. The film is not like the film again. It's enjoyable and whatnot, but what happens is it's gonna go watch that just for that. Just go enjoy yourself and then go see. I can't, because I don't want to spoil it for you. If you don't know, then that's great that you don't know. Go watch it, because I think you're gonna it'll blow your mind. But anyway, like I won't talk about it because you're gonna give you high expectations. Definitely check that one out. But yeah, what you said about the multiverse and how Loki's set up is gonna be like, I don't know, man. It's gonna be amazing. And you mentioned X-Men. See, my thing is X-Men is one of my favorites, and the story of X-Men to me is very deep, like, because it was based on like racism and discrimination and whatnot. So and I think that's a really important storyline that they can bring in and go deep in the MCU and whatnot. So I wonder how they're going to bring that, because the Eternals, they basically showed like that people have accepted superheroes. They're cool with superheroes. They're out there and everyone's okay. So I'm wondering, how do they switch that to being hatred towards mutants, right? Because that's that big story. So I don't want them to fuck that up. The Fox ones, I mean, I wasn't a fan. There were a couple that were good, Days of Future Past, but X-Men means a lot to me, man. I hope they don't mess it up when it comes to the MCU.
Yeah. I mean, I liked watching the Fox ones simply because they were like X-Men and superheroes, and they had all these powers. But I mean, to your point, they probably could have been done better. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the new ones. It will be just like how they do them in the MCU. Like I'm just.
And the MCU don't fail with the casting, right? They do a great job making sure the costumes right, the right actors there and whatnot. So I'm looking forward to that. What about like the Batman? Did you see the Batman trailer? The new one that's coming out.
Yeah, I am looking forward to that. I'm actually interested to see how that lead actor does the role. Because the first time I came across that guy was I was on a flight to, I think it was either Manila, from Sydney to Manila or Sydney to Bangkok or something like that. And I watched Twilight on on the plane, and it was like 1.5 or 2 hours that I just felt like my life had gone. I was like, I'm not gonna get that 2 hours back. And I'm sitting on the plane, right? And I was like, what just happened?
That film, wait, that plane must have had some poor movie selections for you to land on that one. Shout out to everyone who loves the movie. If you love it, great for you.
Yeah, but I was like, I was expecting this mad vampire movie, and it was some high school. I don't know what it was, man.
Well, I mean, the trailer for this Batman movie looks fucking awesome. It's got me pumped.
Yeah.
It comes out in March. I feel like they're gonna do a good job. I feel like it's gonna be an epic Batman movie, like the Nolan ones, you know, because that Dark Knight movie was something else, right? That's like one of the best comic book movies, one of the best movies of all time for me personally. I feel like I don't feel like this Batman will be as epic as that, but I think they're gonna do a great job because DC do a great job when it comes to standalone. They still got a lot of work to do when they start crossing over, but their standalones are pretty good.
Yeah. I think with DC, especially like with Justice League, I think they just tried to make money on getting a big movie, and they didn't go through the process of like introducing each character. I mean, they did Wonder Woman, and everyone knows Superman. But then they threw the Flash in there, Aquaman, and it was just kind of messy. Yeah.
Did you watch the Snyder Cut?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I actually liked it. I liked it. It was worth sitting down and watching it, I thought.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, the Justice League movie that they brought in cinema was. I mean, look, I came out of there excited, and then after I realized, like, I came out excited as I always do, and then after I digested, I was like, oh man, that film wasn't actually that great. But the Snyder Cut for me was. I wish they bring that Snyderverse back, because to me, I think that redeems the DC universe. I just don't know what. I mean, I'm no expert. I'm talking like I'm an expert, but I don't know what the studios are thinking when they're not giving Zack Snyder the money to just do what he's got to do. But I hope they bring it back. I hope they do something, because that DC's got so much potential. Marvel's one in the industry and whatnot, but DC's got so much potential and so much good characters they can make movies for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the characters that they've got, they're all like well-known characters. Like, everyone knows Superman, Batman, the Flash, Wonder Woman. Those characters have been around for so long. Even as TV series, that it's something that they can really build on.
Yeah, 100%. And they like the Joker. You watched the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, right? Did you see that one?
Yeah.
I mean, that was such an epic movie. Now, as a standalone, that's amazing. Now, I want to see him with a Batman. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, they do. It's great that they do great standalone movies, but you always want to see that crossover, because that was such an epic movie. Joaquin Phoenix smashed it as a Joker. I want to see that with a Batman and see how they can do that dynamics. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I don't know if DC's just kind of rushing it, or they feel this might be silly to say, but intimidated by Marvel. Be like, we don't want to copy their style because everyone's just going to say we copied them. But maybe just follow that routine of do your singles and then just put them together, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm no movie expert. I'm just a fan. I just want to see that shit. You know what I mean? We just want to see that stuff.
We just want to be entertained.
That's it, bro. And there's so much content, man. This month we got Hawkeye coming out at the end of the month, which will lead us all the way to Spider-Man. So yeah, we just want to be entertained. There's so much coming on. Did you see the Boba Fett trailer that's coming out? The series.
Oh God, that was awesome. Please speak freely. That was pretty
That's gonna be again, man. It's like they're so good at building up. Like, I mean, Boba Fett's always been a popular character, but they're so good at building up these secondary characters that you don't have to have a show about Jedi's to sell Star Wars. Yeah. They just made The Mandalorian. It's one of the best shows ever. It's amazing. Yeah. Jon Favreau he's something else, man. Like the way he builds up that universe again. It's something else.
Yeah, because I just look up on Wikipedia about what's his name, Jon
Favreau.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of them say that, yeah, growing up, they were like Star Wars fans and all that kind of thing. So they feel what we feel. So when they go into the movie, when they're making these movies, the TV shows, that's carrying it with them. Whereas I think that other lady at Disney, whatever her name is, that people don't like, she's there as an executive. They're there to make money. They just don't have that same emotional attachment to the movies and the characters that other people would.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's like, because sometimes, you see things like, I use Dragon Ball Z as an example, right? Because I loved that growing up and whatnot. And then the movie was absolute pants, right? But then you see these passionate fans who make things on YouTube and you're like, holy shit, like, you need to get fans like to direct the movie so they can make it justice towards what you grew up with. Otherwise, I mean, of course, you got to change things to the movie screen, right? And the big screen, it's always got to change and you got to accept that. But you got to keep some key elements that would always bring you back to what your childhood is. Because if you change it completely, people are they're not gonna vibe with it, man. Like, you're trying to get in new audience, I get it, but you're trying to please the old audience, right? And these are, the comic books or whatever, they're the script, they're the guidelines, right? So just follow the guidelines and just adapt it to the new age, new age times and whatnot.
Yeah.
Did you watch anime or any of that sort of stuff growing up, or was it mostly comic books?
So I did watch a lot of cartoons. So I wasn't so much sort of big into the comics because we'd have this like stack growing up, and then my parents were just like, no, it was just too much. So it was more like cartoons and stuff. But yeah, the anime is like Akira, Ghost in the Shell. So all those ones we used to watch, but that was all available on like VHS videotapes. And then I think once I got my driver's license and all that, I stopped watching all of
it. Life changes a bit.
Yeah. But on Netflix now, I think they've got quite a few. And then there's this thing, I don't know if there's this thing called U-Box. Have you heard of it?
No, I haven't. No.
Anyway. Yeah, it's you can stream movies on it.
Okay, yeah. Sounds legit.
Yeah. Yeah, they got heaps of anime on that. But it's all in the original Japanese. But Netflix, I just realized is pretty good. I just found out that they had a lot of anime on there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
pretty cool.
much into the new stuff. I mean, I stopped at Dragon Ball Z for the longest time, and then my little brother convinced me to watch Naruto, so I got into that. And then, but the new stuff I don't watch. But as you mentioned, the Akira, Fist of the North Star, that was the stuff that I grew up with.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Awesome. Well, bro, look, I know I don't want to keep you all day because I feel like we can geek out all day and all night and whatnot. But, I appreciate your time, man. Thanks. And finally, we got this done, which I appreciate again, because I know you've been mad busy and everything. But again, thanks for coming on. And let's do this again, man. I know when you do the next, do your personal training, when you do the next fight and whatnot, maybe we can jump on after that and catch up about how that kind of went. Again, with the training camp, with the mentality. I'm very interested in this ultra running thing, especially from a mental perspective. So when you get on that, let's definitely try and catch up about that and how that went. And of course, when the movies come out, by then we'll accumulate a bunch of new content. We can geek out again.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You're wicked. Wait, Mark, thank you so much again. Everyone, please check out Mark's Instagram. What was it again? One more time. What was it again?
MCAT Muay Thai Fit 40s.
Awesome. Well, everyone, please check that out. We'll put the link in the description and everything. And Mark, thanks, man. I appreciate the time again, man.
Yeah, bro. No, thank you. I've just been it's been good talking to you and catching up. So hopefully be able to come over to Singapore and train with you. Because I've actually been to Evolve before and train that. Yeah, it's a great facility. So
I know,
it'd be good to catch up with you.
Your favorite fighter, I can't say his name, so please forgive me. But your favorite fighter. Yes,
yeah, Nong-O, yeah.
He's there, and training with him is amazing. Like when he does take the class, I know we're getting back into it, sorry, but when he does take the class, there's an essence with his training, and he's different. The difference between his training, and he's got a different level of power that he can express when he's fighting, and he doesn't look like he's phone power. If that makes sense, and I think it's a picture perfect technique. But yeah, man, it'll be awesome, man. And hopefully these borders open up and get a bit more easier with us to travel, and it'll be great for you to come down and catch up again.
All right, cool, bro. All right.
Well, stay on the line, bro. I'm gonna
Appreciate the time.
Instagram picture. But yeah, thanks, bro. Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Peace out.